Welcome. Suleiman Raheem here. Assalamu alaikum. We're going to slay some demons today. There's several subjects I would like to talk about, several topics. We try to be brief but informative. Anyone looking around can see Humpty Dumpty has fallen off the wall. As they say, Humpty Dumpty has had a great fall. And all the key horses, all the key men cannot put Humpty together again. That's so true. Mind destruct. That's the main topic. It's the umbrella for everything else we want to talk about. As I've been trying to explain to everyone, the mind is your software. Your brain is your hardware. And right now, you look at the world around you, the reality. That's expression of the software that's running on the minds of the dominant people on the planet, the people in control. You're looking at their mind, the technology, economics, military, it all. It's a reflection of their mind. It came out of their mind. These things just don't happen. It comes out of your mind. That's how powerful your mind is. But your mind is a reflection of your nature, your culture. Otherwise, there's a conflict between the hardware and the software. So the culture you see is the ruling culture, and you see their mind, their nature, their culture. And they are they have been imposing their mind on the entire world. And that would be okay if this was a world where everyone had the same culture, same nature, then there would not be a problem. If the whole world is full of cats, then a cat culture wouldn't be a problem for anyone. But if there's cats and dogs, and the cats set up a culture, it would be oppressive to the dogs. Dogs wouldn't like that. So, since we have 5 different natures, 5 different cultures, according to Al-Injil, and before the Dr. Yaqub, they were all in their separate places, doing their own thing, with their own laws, the expression of their culture. Now they're not like that. And then on top of all that, Dr. Yaqub's creation is demanding that everyone submits to its culture, its nature, its laws, because its laws are just expression of its culture, its nature, enshrined in a document. In America, it's called a Constitution. That came out of their nature. They wouldn't have built a kingdom that was adverse to their nature. Why would they do that? They built one that was consistent with their nature. Which would by definition be oppressive to any other nation that were subjected to those laws, because they would have to submit to a law that's alien to them. And by bringing original people over here is oppression by definition against their will. So the first thing you'd have to do is do a mind destruct. Destruct their mind. They wasn't able to do that with the first ones they brought over here in 1555. So they took their children before they could upload, for their parents to upload and install their mind, which was Islamic mind of the times, and they installed Yaqub's creation, installed their mind, their ideas, their culture, which was alien and actually destructive. So by definition, the children grow up would be self-destructive if they were to, if they were going to upload and maintain that mind. So it would be a self-destructive mind, because to obey it would be against themselves. So it's no wonder that blacks are suffering from hypertension, high blood pressure, obesity, and all these different things, because they're struggling with an alien culture, alien mind. And they can't be happy, because if their mind is destructive to them by definition. They embedded in the Constitution itself. It said that we were only 3/5 human. We were even considered human. Now, when you occupy or oppress another people, you have to have a mechanism to do that. That's called law enforcement. Now, I don't think that you can find every evidence of this thing called police, which they have nowadays, before Columbus sailed to America. There was no official police. They had armies that would go in to other countries and oppress them. If they took over the country, they would leave the army in there to maintain, to enforce the oppression. But for a standing police force, no. That, as a result of the so-called paddy wagons, or whatever they call those guys, slave catchers, that was enforced, that system, and now this is the evolution of that. These things are very simple, brothers and sisters. The police force is not there to protect you. It's there to protect their mindset, the oppressor's mindset. And as long as you have that mind, then you're okay. But if you reject that mind, then you have a problem. See? Because you cannot change things without changing the mind. The mind is, like I was saying, your society, your reality is a reflection of your mind, of the prevailing mind. So to change it, you have to change minds. But why would the oppressor change his mind? He would not do that, because that would be, he have to change his nature. How could he do that, even if he wanted to? So he's not going to do that. So that's where the scriptures come in, because they give you the mind that you need to have for that situation that you're in. The Quran was the mind for that period of time, and it was successful for 1,000 years. But then things change beyond the scope of the Quran, and now it's ineffective. It hasn't been effective for 500 years. Chapter 20, Angel, explains that to you. It reveals that to you. So there's a book called The Angel that we're told, and the supplement Daniel, both sealed books that were sealed to be protected until the end. That's the mindset that that is to be uploaded, that will change the world and put it back on the right path again, into his righteous orbit, as Elijah Muhammad used to say. Because now it's an unrighteous orbit, meaning that it's going against nature itself. The mindset in the world today is actually going against nature. Okay? It had 6,000 years that it would be successful, but now nature is coming to collect. So they're in effect fighting against mathematics, which is Allah, mathematics, which is us. That's a battle they cannot win, but they're going to take a lot of victims, because there are many that still have their mindset and will fight against their natural mind. Because if you adopt their mindset, by definition, is self-destructive. So you have many that are lost in the mindset. Christianity, that's software. Capitalism, democracy, all these are aspects of a mind, of their mind, which is not our mind. You even have Mr. Farrakhan advocating socialism, among other things. Sunnism, socialism, that's backwards. Sunnism, 1,400 years backwards, and whatever. So they still have a destructive mind destruct. And the angel is here to take and remedy that situation. The angel, let's make sure we understand this. The energy that we get, as the Quran says, is momentous in the heavens and earth, but it comes to you but of a sudden. That comes every 50 years. That's the energy that's going to raise the original people. It's going to influence the whole world, the whole earth, the whole planet of Earth. The angel will not raise you. Angel is here to take and guide you. Because when you raise something to life, you have to organize, you have to guide it, just like a child. You have to raise it. You didn't give, it already has life, but now you have to mold it and guide it, and focus that energy. That's what angel does. Because if that was possible, then there would have been a book that would have raised us 400 years ago, 1,000 years ago. See, those books, when any nation has a sufficient energy, then they give them the book to guide them through the period of time. That's what those books do. They don't give you life. They guide you. So we have to be prepared to guide our people, because they're rising to life. They're being energized. You can't mold anything that's dead. That's why Elijah, if he had came 100 years earlier, he would not have been successful. If Rod had came 100 years earlier, he would not have been successful, because it wasn't time. We didn't have enough energy. That's what we call energy deprivation. So now we're not suffering from energy deprivation, at least not to the extent that we were suffering before. Now we're gaining enough energy we didn't have enough energy to maintain a civilization. Now we're just about to have that amount of energy. That's what it means we're coming together, the resurrection. That's about to happen. We saw these things happening right before our eyes. We're going into phase 3. What was phase 1? Phase 1 was the plague came right on time. Phase 2, insurrection. Both these things I was warning you about. I was a reporter. A report tells you about events after it happened, like Mr. Farrakhan and Silas and all those. Oh, they got all this information now. Why were they talking about it? They had a platform. Why are they talking about it last year? I have the videos to prove it. So phase 1 was the plague. Phase 2 is insurrection. It's primarily driven by demons. Phase 3 is the war, which is about to happen. That's where we are right now, brothers and sisters. So the purpose of the angel, for everyone to understand, is a remedy to mind destruct. What does the Quran say? Allah does not change anyone's condition unless they change their own condition. That's just a long way of telling you your condition is not going to be changed unless you change yourself. And that means you have to change your mind, because your reality is a reflection of your mind. And so we still live on this reality because we still have mind destruct. We still have a mind in this reality. You say, well, you still in this reality. Am I? You here. I'm here. But I'm not here I'm here by choice. You're not. And if you think that's not correct, well, I'm not going to say much more than that. I'm here by choice. I don't have to be here. Elijah Muhammad didn't have to be here. Once he was given the wisdom that Farad gave him, he didn't have to stay. He stayed here out of love for you. Farad didn't stay here. He's in another reality altogether. Elijah Muhammad is not in this reality anymore. He finally left. He was here, but he was not here. I'm not in this reality, brothers and sisters. I don't see things like you see them. I'm going to try to point it out in this presentation if I'm successful. I'm here by choice, trying to pull you out of here. The angel tells you that. It says that the Lamb and those that was with him, they was the only ones that could sing that new song. That means that's new reality. Only they could. They weren't in the same reality as everyone else. Just take a look at Facebook and you see the reality that we're in. That place is sewer. There's nothing that makes sense there. Everybody's just doing their thing out there. And you look around the world around you and you see, what the world? You say, are they in touch with reality? What's going on there have to do with reality? Has everything to do with reality, because they mind destruct. That's the way they're supposed to think in order to survive in this reality. Because they start thinking correctly, get the mind, God mind, then they would be up in opposition to this reality, and then they would run up against law enforcement. Because now law enforcement is designed to keep your mind and mind destruct keep you having the same mind of this reality. Because if you have a different mindset, that means you're going to be changing this reality. You don't want that. That's what's going on in the streets right now. The problem is that people are rejecting this mindset. See, what they're doing is they're not really, I mean, when you would think about it, these are mostly demons. See, they running this software, this version, right? Version whatever, right? Okay, this version is not working so well. So let me get rid of these apps, load up some more apps. They still run the same version. Just got a different arrangement of apps, different selection of apps. That's what's going on right now. See, but they do have the right target in mind. See, that's law enforcement. But they think that's what they want. That's not really what they want. Not the demons. They think that's what they want because their reality is the same reality as the slave master. Only problem is they want more of it. They want a equal share of it. See, so they have to run the same version, just different applications. And so they're targeting law enforcement, which they really don't want to do because they're going to bring the house down on themselves too. Because if they target law enforcement is what maintains this reality. That means if they destroy law enforcement, then any reality outside of that will emerge. They don't want that. They think that's what they want. That's not what they want. Because they're confused. That's their problem. But law enforcement is under attack. And it will be destroyed. You had to destroy Samson. Samson was a demon. He was oppressed too. He went to slave with us. That's slave master's children, house Negroes. They were slavery just like us. They got their strength back, but they didn't get their eyesight back. They're not us. And he was angry. I've been telling this story over and over for years. And they got angry. And so what they did is they went and they pushed between two pillars in America and Britain. They brought them down because those are the pillars holding Western civilization together. And they brought the house down and brought down upon themselves too. That's what you're seeing right now. And it's getting ready to go into full gear in a few more days. As I said in my previous video, right? You had the plague, locust plague, 5 months, and then you had a second locust plague. That locust plague brings down the house. This one just torments the house. Read it carefully. See? It's talking about the locusts and the angel. 5 months. You think the same 5 months? No, it's 2 different 5-month periods. 5 months from May, June, July, August, September. That's when it started. So you see what's going on now? It's getting ready to shift to high gear after later this month or next month. That's going to be the next 5 months. That's the one that's going to bring down the house. Okay, brothers and sisters. I'm going to check one more thing here. Make sure I cover all the topics before I go into the presentation. I have little notes myself. Okay, there's a couple of things I missed. I did hit on it, but let me be a little more direct. We're living in a made-up world. See? It's a belief matrix. But it's a made-up world. And it's a world that was just made from the grafted mind. But that's not what I'm talking about right here. What I'm talking about is an aspect of it. It's not the law enforcement part. It's the defensive part. Because when you have a new mind coming on the scene, right, then it's going to be the two minds are going to conflict. It's going to be opposition between the two. It's going to be a struggle for which one's going to win. Right? One has law enforcement, enforce it. Other ones, in other words, you have the status quo and you have the emergent. Emergent and status quo. Emergent is the one that's growing, is coming into existence. Status quo would exist. So we had the status quo here, had emergent. Elijah Muhammad represented the emergent. So you have opposition, conflict between the two. So it's a challenge, contest between the two minds. And so this mindset, the mindset of the status quo, the Constitution, America, that mindset, right, went into defensive mode when it came in contact with the mindset Elijah Muhammad presented to neutralize it. See, first would be, it would be stages. Try to neutralize it. If not, try to kill it. If you can't neutralize it, mentally or socially or whatever, then you go physically and kill it. So the first stage was to neutralize it. So therefore, you had powerful ideas that was direct opposition to this mindset. The seed of Abraham was made everything clear. That Abraham covenant. And we being here, the whole thing was clear. And that was a direct challenge to this mindset, a direct challenge to this mindset. They had to do something about that. They had to neutralize it. They couldn't neutralize it. They had to kill it. So they went into the neutralization mode. I'm not going into all the details. See, but these was facts too powerful to ignore. So if there was a true seed of Abraham, they had been there 40 years, just like it says, and such, and we brought them over here and we treat them badly, and okay, well, if they are that, and these prophets are true to them, what does that mean? What's going to happen to us? Can't people seeing that kind of stuff? So they had to set up a false Israel. They had to set up a counter. See? So they set up a false Israel. People that they hated for thousands of years. All of a sudden their ass became honeypots. And they were eating the honey. Just overnight. They would just burn them up days earlier. They would just burn them up in ovens. And nobody gave it. All of a sudden, they're holy people, precious people. They're God's people. You don't think that's strange? And America's been spending billions and billions and billions of dollars to maintain that narrative. The whole world is right now is under the shock, right, of that reaction. Look, how much stuff in the world right now can you trace back to the fact that false Israel is over the Middle East and America supporting them, the wars, and all this other stuff that's going on. And that's about to happen. That will happen. So they have to do that. And they have to remove the idea that from our minds, so he's kill that idea here, that we're the true seed of Abraham. And that we're going to inherit a covenant. That was stage one, is first says false Israel. Then put them over there and make sure, give them all the power to make sure they stay put. Nothing can happen to them. See? Stage two, get rid of it out of our minds. See? Get rid of that idea. So there you go, right? Destroy the nation of Islam. Get rid of it. That was their stated goal. FBI stated goal. And they did that. But they are still, right? Still smoldering. And they need to put out totally. So they brought back Farrakhan. See, after they thought they had got rid of it, it was smoldering, still wasn't gone, So they put the fence, stump it down, stump out the coal, stump it out, stump out the fire altogether. And that's been his mission for 42 years. bring devils into the NOI. See, devils ain't devils anymore. Father Flager's, he's not a devil. See, Scientology. So in other words, emphasis on self-improvement as opposed to nation building. See, we ain't going nowhere. That's a whole abrogation of Abrahamic covenant. If you don't understand that, bro, since you don't understand anything, if you go and say that we're not going anywhere, you're calling Allah a liar. The whole reason why we're over here because of Abrahamic covenant. The whole reason why fraud came is fulfillment of that covenant. The whole thing for 40-some years of Elijah Muhammad's sacrifice and suffering was to take and remind us of that covenant and prepare us, you understand? Prepare us for Joshua, who's going to take us back to the promised land, to fulfill that covenant. And he's to tell you it's not going anywhere. That's like telling you, right, you done paid, you done went and you paid on starving plan for this Lamborghini, paying it, and then you finally got it paid, right? And the guy come and tell you, man, you ain't getting no Lamborghini. And I'll pay for it. No, we ain't getting nothing. See? We gonna honor that contract. That contract was no good, no way. We got your money, but you ain't. I mean, that's not really good. But you get the point. When he tells you that, he's telling you everything you need to know. If he tells you that and you believe it, he's telling you he's against Farad, he's against Elijah Muhammad, he's against us. The whole thing is that Abrahamic covenant. That's what we went all this suffering for. And we submitted. It says, submit to Adam, we did. And that's the reward that we have. He said, we're going to give you, you're not getting no reward. That means it's a lie. That means he's saying we're not really true Abraham's seed. He's saying Allah's a liar. His word is corrupt, doesn't mean anything. That was all bullshit. And you don't get that? And if that fails, then just have to kill it. And that's the next phase. I keep telling you, they're going to attack soon. See? That's the phase that Farad has to pull us out. Time of unprecedented trouble. Because it got to kill that idea. See? Understand that, brothers and sisters. See? And finally, you get all these people, the Sunnis are really pushing, they want that. They're pushing the Sunnis. Most of the people ain't even Sunnis. They're the government. Pushing that Sunnism, trying to get you locked up in that. See? 14-year-old stuff, and they keep telling you, oh, well, like the Quran's going to last forever. Like, oh, no. They tell you, oh, man, well, Elijah Muhammad's the last one, all that kind of stuff. They tell you that. That's a bait to get you in, but when you get in, you don't get that. You get Scientology, you get philosophy, and all that kind of stuff. See? Those times has passed. You know, they want to, let me just have a couple of quick examples here. Oh, Elijah Muhammad, the message of black man said, you don't let me anything else. When the message of black man does tell you anything about computers, Elijah Muhammad didn't know anything about computers and the web and GPS and all that stuff. So if he was the one, how come all that stuff is not in there? You're not finding. So where's your guidance on those things? On social media, on this plague? It's not there. It's not as bad as the Sunnis. You go over there in Sunni land, they smoke like crazy, like chimneys. Why? Because they don't say anything in the Quran about smoking cigarettes, because it was from another time. So they get cancer, blowing this up with cancer and everything, because the Quran don't say anything about smoking cigarettes. So because the Quran don't say it, that means it's okay. Don't say about smoking crack either. Don't say about transgender, reconstruction, all that kind of stuff. You know, it's just stupid. See? They make it think that there's the only first revelation, only revelation from Allah. Like, we've been here billions and billions and billions of trillions of years, and all of a sudden Allah gave us the Quran. That's the final revelation for all times. Yet they can't explain anything that's going on now in the Quran. They can't. If you listen to eschatology, you go insane. They're waiting for this person called the Jowler to come along. He's got one eye in the center of his head. They're waiting for this beast to come along that can talk. Four-legged beast that can talk. Stuff like that. No. Angels that you can't see. See, they can't prove anything. And finally, brothers and sisters, before we get into the presentation, if you can't prove what you believe in, then your belief is worthless. If you can't prove it, if it has no facts, if it's not anchored in facts in mathematics, right? It's not tethered in facts in mathematics, then what's the difference between you believing in Confucianism? What's the difference between Hinduism? They just the same boat you in. So all y'all just sitting in the same boat. The boat is sinking, looking at each other. Or you sitting on the Titanic just looking at each other. Because none of you can prove anything you're talking about. So none of you can say you're right or wrong. And one thing you know that one of you, at least one of you is insane, maybe both of you. If one of you are correct. They can't prove, the students can't prove anything they're talking about, nothing. Nor can the Christians. Nor can the Hindus. They can't prove any of that stuff, none of it. So why would you believe in something that you can't prove? You know, you go back in time, right? And you see all these things, these what you call fables now, and myths and superstitions. Some of those things are actual scripture. I could go into some, one day I will go into scripture. I will go into some and explain some of them. Some of them are actually scripture. But do we see them as fable now? Because in the light of now, they don't make any sense. Back then, they made a lot of sense. The people believed in them. People went to war because of those things. People gave their whole life because of those ideas. They was just as powerful to them as your ideas are powerful to you now. What you call mythology, it was just as powerful in their mind as your Christianity is now. So now you call this stuff mythology. Which thing are you going to call yours 100 years from now? Mythology also. You ever read Genesis? You know, snakes in the garden, speaking to people? How is that any different than Thor and all that stuff? Those things, that was their reality back then. And those kingdoms lasted longer than America's lasted with those ideas. And they was as powerful to them as your ideas are to you right now. And they was able to build and everything they can with those ideas. They had to rule with those ideas. But now you call them myths. See? You take Elijah Muhammad, for instance. He says, well, the moon was blown apart using 100% dynamite. Now, why do you say dynamite? That's bullshit. I'm not saying what he's saying is bullshit. I'm saying, maybe I shouldn't have said that away. What I'm saying is that, no, it couldn't have been dynamite. The reason why I said dynamite, because he didn't know anything about nuclear explosions at that time. 100% dynamite was the most powerful explosion that they knew about. They didn't know dynamite was trillions of years ago. That stuff, dynamite is right now, even dynamite is nothing compared to explosions they have nowadays. And even atomic bombs have right now is still not powerful enough to blow away the earth. The dynamite and stuff they have the nuclear explosions they have right now, all of it, all together is still not powerful enough to split the earth in a way that the moon was split away. It's not powerful enough. I think your science will tell you that. See? Remember, the Earth is 7,926 miles in diameter. How far have they dug into the Earth? Less than a mile. Less than a mile. But it's 7,926 miles in diameter. And it's hard rock. They don't know what's down under there. And all this nuclear bombs, it would destroy the surface of the planet. Yes, who will do that? But they say planet. First of all, they would have to get down deep enough to blow something away as far, and they can't even get that far down into it. Remember, they said that the way in order to blow the moon away, you had to go down thousands of miles into the earth to plant your explosive. They can't do anything near that. They haven't been able to go to maybe a couple of miles into the earth. So can you get down there? But he said 100% this because that's the knowledge he had at the time. Don't you understand, brothers and sisters? That is irrelevant now. Now you have to have software that's up to date. Where do you see in it's crying about planes and cruise missiles and iPhones? You don't even see that. iPhones and things like in the web and GPS. You don't even see that in Message of the Black Man. Not even close. Nothing even near it. Not even a hint of it. But Freud knew about it. See, but you don't know because you don't study those lessons. I'm not going to it now, but if you read the lesson about he broke what it was 10 million parts. He split an atom into 10 million parts. How much did a cracked atom weigh? If you understand that, you understand. He's talking about nuclear explosion. He was talking about nuclear explosion before it even, that was the concept of the caveman mind. There was no concept of a nuclear explosion at the time Farad was here talking to Elijah Muhammad. No concept. It wasn't any literature, anything. In their movies, not even, atomic bomb, not even in their consciousness. And he's talking about it. See. But he says Elijah got the lessons right, nearly correct. Okay, brothers and sisters, let's move on. Okay, so let's see what happens here. We can get this right. And I spent a lot of time already, so hopefully I can get through this quickly, but with detail. Okay, let's see what happens here. Mind destruct. Science. We're not in the belief matrix here. We don't rest on belief. Science, mathematics, scripture, which we prove is mathematics, has a mathematical base to it. And I will touch on some of that in this presentation. But beliefs are not tethered to facts. Faith is tethered to facts. So let's move on. Now, one of the topics I want to talk about is this. I'm not going into a lot of detail about it, but this is very interesting if you think about those of you who have been studying the Injil. See, as I've been telling you, these books are mathematical books. And you have to, when you understand on the mathematical level, it tells you a lot of things. And so I'm going to show you something that I'm sure no one has seen before, noticed, and maybe you might disagree. But it talks about 5 nations. Okay. So I'm showing 5 here. On the bottom, that's the same one. It's just 2 aspects of it. Okay. The first one is the original nation. Now, what I want to say here is that to have space, in other words, a triangle is the smallest object that has space in it. It has 3 sides. If it has 2 sides, then you don't have any space in it, right? 3-sided object has space in it. So triangle is the smallest 3 sides that can have space, right? A rectangle or a square has 4 sides to it, has space. Then you have the 5 side, I think they call it pentagon, right? And it has 5 sides, has space. Then you have the sextagon, I believe they call it, has 6 sides. Then you have the 7-sided, okay? So what does that mean? Okay, I'm just giving some mathematical hints here, but I'm not going to go into mathematical detail. But there's 5 nations, and remember, each one of them with 7 parts to it, right? 6 wings plus so it's 7 parts to each one, okay? That was a hint right there. 5 nations, each one of them had 7 parts. That's the last one there. He's the 5th one, and has 7 parts to it. He has 7 sides, okay? But if you notice that one, no matter how you try to construct it, you cannot get a stable, right, firm structure. You can't do it. See? That represents the European nations. You can't. But if you go back to the original one, that's the gold one on the left, on the top left, he has the firmest structure. See? And he has the best connections because he connects, right? See, he connects on 2 sides. In other words, what I'm trying to say here is that, let me make sure I have this right now. when it connects with the other ones, each one connects with the other ones, right? It gives up 1/3, 2/3. Okay, it gives up 2/3 that connects with the other ones. See, two thirds of the sides are connected to the other ones. It has 3 sides, 2/3 are so it has a strong connection to the other ones. In other words, we have a strong connection to each other. Okay, now you take the African, the next one, right? It has 4 sides, but only 2 sides. See, only 2 sides connects with the other ones. Only half, where original is 2/3. Then you go to the Asian, right? Like India and so forth, right? And you have what? 1 side. Okay, you have one in the middle, 5 sides, but all the other ones, 1 side. So you get a firm, but it's not as firm as the original. The original is more firm because it connects on 2 sides. 2/3 connected to the other ones. It has a greater connection and it has a firmer structure. This triangle is the firmest structure in the universe. The rectangle is the next one. Then the pentagon. Then you go next, right, to the Oriental nations, right? See, now it connects on 2 sides, right? But it has 6 sides. It connects only 1/3. Only 1/3 of the sides connects. So it has a good connection, but it isn't strong as the original, who has 2/3. The Oriental only has 1/3. It has 6 sides. Only 2 sides connects. Excuse me. 3 sides, so 1/2. So he has 1/2. See, he has 6, but 3 sides connect. Okay, so he has a firm structure. Then you have the European. One side at best, and then they still can't get a firm connection. One side out of 7, 1/7, and still can't get a firm connection. Still can't get a firm structure. See, there's a lot of wisdom in there. I'm not going to it right now. But right now, the thing is that you see the bottom structure there? Well, I'm not sure. I showed 2 aspects of it. All the nations are in that structure because they dominate. But as the pressure increases, right, as energy energized, then all the structures all come together into their natural form, like you see on the top. Because right now, they're looking in the same structure as you see on the bottom, all the nations. But now, democracy, capitalism, all that kind of stuff, that's the structure that the world is under right now, what you see under the bottom. So all the nations have that structure, but they have ability to reorganize itself into the structure that you see on the top. So when pressure comes, enough pressure comes, that Oriental, the European, they're going to come apart because there's nothing to hold them together. There's not firm to hold them together. They just come apart, crushed. With other nations, you see them coming together. And the original nation comes together more the firmest. Africans next after that, so forth. Hope you understand that, brother. So I'm just giving you a little, trying to show you how the math connects. Because why they choose this, why they say 7 parts. Those are arbitrary things. They give you a big hint right here. Okay, so I think I said enough about that. Let's move on. So let's talk about water. Now, most people don't pay attention to water. And you ask people where water comes from, most people don't know. They say, well, they maybe know H2O, but they don't understand what does that mean? And that gets back to the Quran again. Because when you talked about Iblis, remember Iblis, he said, I ain't going to submit to that. He made of dust. Because I was made of intensely hot fire. So what do you mean he made of intensely hot fire? See? So the Sunnis, they have all crazy ideas about that. But he was serious. But then it says, yeah, but he was made of intensely hot fire, but he was made not to witness his own creation. We go into that a little bit. But you ask yourself, where does water come from? Okay, water is made of H2O. It shows right there. Oxygen has 8 protons. Okay, Hydrogen has one proton. See? You see the connection with the electron. The bottom, the hydrogen has one proton, so it means it has one electron. Usually the number of electrons match the number of protons. Right? And the oxygen has 8 protons, has 8 electrons. And so they can bind together. I'm not going to the binding and chemistry, all that kind of stuff. That's something for another presentation. But the question here is that what is hydrogen and what is oxygen? Well, both are fire. Oh, how is oxygen fire? Well, okay. If you're in a room and the fire is going and you take out all the oxygen, the fire is going out. So without the oxygen, the fire is going out. So where did the oxygen, if fire comes from? If it didn't come from the oxygen, right? What is steam? Isn't steam water? It's just activated water. And fire is just activated oxygen. That's all it is. Activates oxygen, but activated oxygen. Same thing with hydrogen. Fire is also can be fire. Hydrogen is also fire. So those stars out there, you see the Earth, the South Sun, is a hydrogen star. It's fire. It's a hydrogen star. It's one of the smaller stars. Some stars are much more powerful, but it's a hydrogen star. Okay? Both oxygen and hydrogen are both fire. So when you combine them together, you get water. But hydrogen is the most fundamental particle in the universe. That means everything that's made is made based on hydrogen from fire. So Iblis was absolutely correct. He was made of intensely hot fire because that's what we always made from. That's how we started out, right? And it says, the Quran gives you a big hint. It says, from water we made everything living. So what was we before we was water? See? We had to make the water, so we made the water, and what was we before we was water? We was fire. Iblis has it right. There's a hint there. That's why it says only those firmly rooted in knowledge understand it. So fire. Fire, everything's come from fire. Fire is the basis of everything. I just want to point a couple of things out like that because we need to understand these things, brothers and sisters, because all these things help to get our brothers and sisters back to the right mind, start thinking, because these are thoughts. This is the level of thinking they should have. But they have mind destruct. They're in a state of mind destruct in a belief matrix. So I'm just pointing out some things that's right before our eyes that we're not paying attention to. Because who would think that water comes from fire? That's where it comes from. Now, let's look at this. This some might find interesting. Because I know some people say, oh man, this dude talking about Star Wars and all that kind of stuff. They don't understand where I'm coming from. Because that's what some of our brothers and sisters love on. That's the way they'll relate to that kind of talk. Because if you want to talk to somebody, if you want to speak to a Spanish-speaking person, you have to learn the language. We have to speak the language of our people. That's why the people that are assisting me, I put that away. I don't criticize the way they present, because I encourage them, take it and put it into the way you understand it, and then talk to other people, because I may say exactly the same thing that you say, but they won't hear from me because I'm speaking a different language than they're speaking. It's just like the so-called 5 sinners. Those lessons have been around for ages under Elijah Muhammad. Took their brother Clarence 13X, I believe his ex was. He took it out to Harlem to the young brothers, and he put it in another context, and it took off like unbelievable. They call themselves the 5 sinners. So everybody speaks just like Elijah Muhammad. Elijah Muhammad, Nation of Islam, had been about, what, 30 years, 20-some years? And then along come Malcolm, a jailbird, a felon. And he was put into, because most of our people was in that condition. And he was put, Elijah Muhammad's teaching in a way that, hey, it took off with them. Okay, so that's my 71-year-old attempt to relate to the younger generation in a way that maybe they might understand. Okay, let's look at this. The Earth weighs 6 sextillion tons, which means a magnet that weighs a ton is 66 sextillion times smaller than the Earth. The Earth weighs 6 sextillion tons, right? Which means a magnet that weighs 1 ton is 66 sextillion times smaller than the Earth. I think that's mathematics, right? Yet a magnet that weighs a ton can lift a ton of iron. A magnet that weighs a ton can lift a ton of iron. That's true, right? It can lift more than that, actually, but say it can lift a ton of iron, a block of iron, which means a 1 ton magnetism, right? The magnetism is 66 trillion times more powerful than the gravity of the Earth, because the gravity of Earth's holding that ton of iron down, right? So it took the whole Earth to hold that ton of the iron down. The whole Earth to hold it down. But one magnet that's 66 trillion times smaller can snatch it up. That means that one magnet is 66 trillion times more powerful. Magnetism is 66 more, in this scenario, is 66 sextillion times more powerful than gravity of Earth, since it can snatch the 1 ton iron up from the Earth. Think that, and this is, I'm using mathematical generality, but that's a fact. That magnetism is trillions of times more powerful than gravity. You can Google it, right? But I'm giving it to you in this context. I'm trying to make it simple, right? Because you think about it. It takes the whole planet to hold that iron down, and one man can snatch it up from the planet. Okay? Let's move on. So here you go now. Here's the magnet. There's the iron. There's the sitting on the floor, right? Boom. They can pull it up. The Earth was holding it down, but now the magnet can pull it up against the Earth. Gravity can't pull it back. Okay? Now, the reason a magnet can itself overcome, that's the area there. A reason a magnet cannot itself overcome the gravity of the Earth is bipolar. That should be cannot. Meaning having, that's another, I thought I corrected that, both since I didn't save it. Having 2 equal but opposite poles which neutralize each other. In other words, the reason a magnet cannot itself overcome the gravity of the Earth is because it is bipolar, meaning having 2 equal but opposite poles which neutralize each other. A magnet has a positive and negative pole, but they neutralize each other. See, one going one direction, so it can't go up because the other one's pulling it down. So it's pulled down to Earth too because its magnetism is neutralized, so the Earth's gravity can hold it down. Okay, understand that? Okay. I didn't save this book. I got a lot of grammar. I'm not going to leave it, so I'm just going to say it right. If you, that should be if, not each, if you could somehow isolate one of the poles, then the magnet would accelerate away from Earth at astronomical speed, far beyond the speed of light, since it would be over 6 sextillion times more powerful than the Earth's gravity. That means if you could, remember I said here, I put out here, that you got, right, they neutralize each other. But if you would say to separate one of them away from the other, now there's nothing to neutralize it. And so it says that if you could do that, make it unipolar, right, meaning you don't have one pole, a positive or negative, then it would be so, remember all that power, right, not neutralized, it'd be 60, and the magnetism is 66 sextillion times more powerful, right, than the Earth's gravity. Then it would shoot away from the Earth at astronomical speeds. And remember, a magnet doesn't require any fuel. See, magnetism doesn't require any fuel. So if you had something like that, right, you go anywhere at astronomical speeds. Okay, let's go. Okay, now, what I'm giving you a picture here of a model of what I call it a proton engine plane. This is the same technology that's used for the wheel. Only I'm not going to tell you about how to make a proton engine, right? I'm going to tell you about a proton engine, how it works. Okay, what you see there on the top, that red, that will be a proton engine. On the bottom, the brown, that will be a proton engine. They're calibrated to have a difference of power of 32 feet per second. Why is that? Because there's a thing called inertia. Inertia is what you feel when you go on a roller coaster or you turn in a car and you want to push to one side of it. That's inertia, because your body wants to keep going in the same direction and you turn the car in another direction. That's inertia. Like when you feel when you go in the elevator, right? And if you go real fast, it pushes you against, when you see people going in the rocket in space, you see how it's pushing against the chair and their face get distorted and everything else. That's all that inertia. See? So if you was to take and you in a ship and you would suddenly take off at 1,000 miles per second, it would crush you. The inertia would be just too great. See? So you see these Star Wars movies and Star Trek and everything, right? They call it inertial dampeners. They don't really talk about that much because most people don't catch on it. But they explain the reason why when they take off at speed of light, bam, right? That it's not crushing them, or they can just sit there like they're kind of like nothing happened, but they step on the accelerator and went to light speed like that. Because they have inertial dampeners, that means something dampening that inertia. See, but you would have to have two proton engines, and these proton engines would be of the sort I talked about. They would be unipolar, not bipolar. See, I'm not saying that they're like magnets. I'm just using it as an analogy. So I'm just saying they're in other words, they have the power of a magnet, right? Without being bipolar, without the neutralizing effect. Okay? So what happens is you have one on top, one on the bottom, and they calibrate it to be the force be different between 32 feet per second. Therefore, you feel no acceleration. It takes off at speed of light, a billion miles per second, whatever. You don't feel nothing. You don't feel anything. See? And that's direction. See where the arrow is? That's direction. Now, this is foolish when you see Star Trek, where they take it off like in a car. That's not the way a ship would be made, right? Because then you got a big problem. See, right now, if you calibrate it, then people walk around just like walking on an elevator. They don't even feel it. But if you have the arrow going the other direction, now you need all kinds of stuff because it would push them against the wall and all that kind of stuff, right? And so you have to have a more complicated, it wouldn't make sense. Anyway, I'm not going into all that. So this is the basic, what a wheel would look like, the basic structure. You have to have two engines, proton engines, one on top, one on the bottom, and they'd be structured, they'd be calibrated to have a difference of force 32 feet per second between them. So you have no sense of acceleration. And you will go any place in the universe at astronomical speed because you don't need any refuel. You don't need any refuel, right? Only thing you would need is if there's some need to operate those engines themselves. And I'm not going to that, right? See, because you may or may not need it. I'm not going to reveal any more on that. I talk too much, I'll be saying too much. Anyway, that's what you have. That's the construct. So you see people walk around, this thing would accelerate, and they wouldn't even feel it, wouldn't even notice it. right? And since acceleration means you're going, when they say 32 feet per second, that means the first second you're going 32 feet you're going 32 feet, 32 feet, that's how fast you're going, 32 feet per second. But the next second, you're going 64, and you double it. The next second, you're going 96, because you're going 32 feet faster every one. So after 3 seconds, you're going 96 miles an hour, 96 feet per second. And so how fast will you be going in about an hour? You'd be going fast at the speed of light, right? But in this thing, your acceleration could be 100 feet per second, 100 miles per second. That means how fast will you be going in an hour? You'd be going astronomical speeds, 24 billion miles per second. You can get anywhere in the universe as quick as you need to get, right? So, and let me check and make sure. Okay, before I go, okay. I want to talk about that here. Okay, so let's go here. So see, that's the way we move away from the planet. See, move it that way, like that. That's where we move. Okay, so what do we want to talk about here? Well, let's go on. Let's go down here further. Okay, here's the universe. Now, the universe is made of galaxies. Now, KV doesn't understand why the universe has to have galaxies, because they have this Big Bang theory, and from their point of view, the universe is just be gas all over the place, just full of gas. That's it. So understand how stars form, how galaxies form. They understand because we made them form, and we use another form of this proton engine, which they call black holes. There's no such thing as a black hole. These are proton engines that we use. Remember, you have two sides of everything. So this case, as a proton engine, is a pushing force, but we can reverse it, have it as an attraction force. Okay, so we take one of these engines and we put it, and that engine will always attract atoms to it. It's like a seed that brings stars together. To create stars like a seed. Also, it can bring the material to start the seed to start a star. It also could be the seed to start a solar system, a seed to start a galaxy, rather. And they call it black holes. No, they're not black holes. They're engines that we put out. They're artificial, and we control them. And we use them for a lot of things. First of all, one thing, like I said, is to make galaxies. Another thing is, for these galaxy stars, is how you could make atoms, uranium atoms, carbon atoms, whatever. And so once we have a star and it's made enough material, then we take and shut down the engine and the star explodes. And then we capture the material. The Bible tells you that those stars are our treasuries. Okay, let's go a little further here. Now, I'm not going to go too far into this. I was thinking about it, but I think I've been or not. What I'm going to say is that in order to travel through the universe at 24 billion miles per second, or even the speed of light, you have to have travel lanes, because anything that's in your way, anything, a dime, a rock, if you hit anything with that speed, right, it will destroy it, because you have a thing called kinetic energy. I'm not going to go into that right now, but I'm saying you have to have clear lanes. And so in order to do that, what we had to do is take and form galaxies and constellations to put all the energy, all that stars material into direct special spaces that were clear lanes, so that material would be empty, so you have empty space, so you could travel through. That's why we did it. That's what we did, because we made all those planets, we made all those stars, made all those constellations. We did that. What do you think we was doing for the last 76 trillion years? We wasn't scratching our butt. We did all that. It says the garden is wide as the heavens and earth. The garden would not be a garden if we could not get out there. So that's what we did. Okay? So now this gets into something that is going to sound to some of you like real Star Wars stuff. Okay. Now when you look out there, when you look out into the universe, you're not seeing the way the universe is right now. You're seeing in some places, in fact, many of those stars you see out there are not even stars. They're galaxies. Cave just found it out when he put his Hubble's telescope out and everything, and they thought it was stars and turned out to be galaxies themselves. So you got billions and billions of galaxies out there. They thought it was stars, turned out to be galaxies. It has billions of stars in them. So there's trillions of stars out there, trillions of planets. Okay, and we're going to have they're all habitable. We have trillions of habitable planets out there. Many of you will be living on them. This generation is going to inherit all of that. But the problem is, like I said, you have to have lanes. And when you look out there, you're not seeing it as it is now. You're looking at some cases billions of years ago, the way it was, because you're looking at the light, how long it took the light to get here. In some cases, it took billions of years for the light to get here. In some cases, millions of years. So you don't know, that's not where it looks right now. So if you was to jump in your little wheel and take off, you might run into a star, a planet, anything, because it's not, that's not the way it is right now. So you have to plot your course. How are you going to plot your course? Because you have to find out how you're going to know how it is, how are you going to know where it is, how these things are. Okay, this gets down to two very powerful concepts. One is, that's why it says that the Bible says God has numbered every star and knows everyone by his name. That means every atom in the universe is, the Quran tells you it also. Every atom in the universe, right, is known by Allah. It's all mathematics. And we know it. We have powerful computers. Computers that, these things, what they call computers, they're nothing compared to what we have. And then right now they're off planet. We don't manufacture on planet. We manufacture off planet. We don't corrupt our planet. That's why it says there's strong guards in the heavens where they can't get to. They can't get to this technology. We have to rebuild this technology. Technology is already there. But it was moved off planet where they would never get to it. Okay? So we have powerful computers that can track every atom in the universe. Every atom, track every one. Know where it is and can track it. See? There's a limited amount of atoms in the universe. These computers can track every one, know where they are at any point in time. So therefore, when you want to go to place, you can put the coordinates, you put your destination, and the computer will guide you there, right, through a space lane to get you to your destination. That's the only way we can travel. Without that, you cannot travel, even if you had that kind of ship. If KV was to get that kind of ship, he would still never be able to get, he'd be lucky. He probably got the solar system. He might get to the first star, but he's lucky if he get any further than that, because he'd have to map the whole universe. It would take him billions and billions of years to do that, because he'd have to do it physically, and then it's kind of changing all the time anyway. So he would never be able to do it. So even if he had it, he could not go very far with it. But we can go any place in the universe with it, because we have those type of computers. See, we have those type of computers. Now, this is what I'm going to say. Now, if you have a computer like that, think of the repercussions. You track every atom in the universe, and you know where it is at any point in time. Every atom. That means every atom. That means us. Everything. Right? We're made of atoms. Everything is made of atoms. Everything is made of hydrogen. Remember I said fire? Everything is made of protons, and that's what hydrogen is. So if you can do that, right, that means you can tell how these atoms are going to be 100 years from now. How the universe is going to be 100 years from now. Exactly. How the universe is going to be 1,000 years from now. 10,000 years from now. That's how they write history. Elijah Muhammad didn't say he explained it because he didn't know about computers back there. So he explained it in the technology of the way he understood it. So that's the way they write history. But they limit it to 25,000 years because it takes a lot of computer power to calculate that far. So they calculate 25,000 years at a time. They can go further if they want to, but it's just it takes a lot of power, a lot of energy to do that. That's how history is written. So they can look, and if you got a computer and you can do that, right? And you have a visual screen, you actually look into the future and see exactly just like you're looking at a movie. That's the power that we have, brothers and sisters. Oh, well, okay. If you say that's not the case, then what about someone that writes, okay, what about how do we get the Bible? We say the Bible, if you believe the Bible is prophecy, then whoever wrote it, right? Whoever originally wrote it, they could see it in the future. So whether you look at through a computer or look at through your mind or through a dream, you still saw it clearly. But if you saw it through a dream, how could you trust it? If you saw it through a vision, how could you trust it? But if you got a computer, you can trust it. And there's all kinds of things you can do. I'm not going to. But one thing I want to tell you, and this is very interesting, and this is for you advanced brothers and sisters that are really studying, because I think some of you probably trying to start to get into studying, right? And you might not see it now, you'll see it later. If you have two people, and one 10,000 years apart, both of them have this computer. Both of them have this access to that computer, right? Then they can talk to each other. Because remember, you're looking into the future, 10,000 years in the future, exactly like it is. So you can focus on this person, right, that has a computer, right? And so you would send, right? So and that person, he has this computer can also detect if anybody's trying to contact it. And then you can communicate, even though you're 10,000 years apart. I think I'm going to leave that there. See. What I'm trying to do here, brothers, is I'm not trying to amaze you or to confuse you or to wow. I'm trying to give you an idea, brothers and sisters, of the power that we have. That's why it says we gods of the universe. That's not a plaything. I'm trying to give you a feel for it. This is not a wow session. I'm trying to give you the feel for it. The power that we have. The fact, the power that we can write history before it happens should tell you everything you need to know. That means you have to have complete knowledge of the universe, because anything goes wrong, everything else goes wrong after that. Remember, you gotta have every atom. Just think of the process, just reproduction. Millions of sperm, and only one hits that egg, and then you have to count for all of that. If you look at 1,000 years in the future, because one thing goes wrong, say a person trips and falls, have an accident, everything else, what if Jesus had an accident when he was the so-called Jesus in the Bible, had an accident when he was a baby or something, then all other stuff would never happen. They had to count for everything. He said, well, God can do that. Yes, he can, because we the God. I'm trying to show you, brothers and sisters. I'm trying to show you. What I'm trying to do is bring this home so you can see that this is not, you don't have to need a mystery God to do this, that this is fully within the context of mathematics, that this is doable. So I'm trying to put it in a mathematical context so you can see this is doable. There's not something beyond our ability. So when we take over the planet again, because the planet right now is already being moved by us, we're already waking up. They're starting to fill out power. When the Quran says they started to fill out power, they're filling out power now. Thought is power. Thought is pressure. Pressure waves. Music is pressure waves. Harmonic pressure. Isn't the whole world right now moving to our music, our thought waves? Brothers and sisters, I'm trying to wake you up. We're already influencing the whole planet. They're already dancing and moving, flowing to our thoughts. We already influenced the whole planet. And it's getting more and more every day, just on that level, just with our music, which we think we will totally wake up. First, they love your music, then they love you. Love is submission. I'm trying to get you to understand, brothers and sisters. I'm trying to get you to feel for the power that you got that's coming back to you. See? Energy deprivation, now that period is over. Now we're about to take everything back. And when you go back to what I was saying about those nations, right? See, they're under the European construction now, but they snap back. See, it all happened at the same time. See, when we come together, Africans come together also. Also come to Oriental power, because that's why it says, a time of unprecedented trouble, the sign of Son of Man in heavens, all this will happen once we reach that boiling threshold. It'll be the boiling threshold for European countries, but it won't be boiling for us. Okay? But it'll be reconstructive for us. Okay? Okay. So let me just point this out one more time here. Like I was saying, once we snap back, see, they were crushed, and we'll snap back, they will be unified again. But that means Africa will be unified too, Asia will be unified, and Oriental will be unified. But we have a stronger structure. Triangle is the strongest structure in the universe. That's why you have the pyramid out there. Pyramid is the strongest structure in the universe. Both of them are triangular. Okay, brothers and sisters. I think we'll stop there. Okay, brothers and sisters, I hope that's been informative. Like I said, this is not a wow presentation. I'm trying to get you to understand who you are. You will not return to the thorough knowledge of yourself. I'm trying to bring this stuff home to you, bring home to you that that's your power. You made all that out there. I'm trying to show you how you did it. I can't tell you everything because I'll be telling them. I'm just giving you hints, right? And show you that's in the realm of possibility. See? Because they're telling you all this crazy stuff. That's their mind. The Big Bang. See, they tell you that all the universe one time was the size of an atom. Oh, all that. But then when the Quran tells you that no, it says, well, the whole universe was one time the atmosphere of the earth. Well, if you can believe it was this small, you can't believe it was bigger. Evolution, we all came from amoeba or something. And I say, no, it's the reverse. They all came from us. That the Quran says the opposite. From one being came all living. So it's the opposite. So you got thinking backwards. Mind destruct. They have to do that. Because if your right mind comes back, read what it says. In demon-possessed man, his mind came back. See? In Daniel, right? The lion, weasels put off, it was given his right mind back again. When it happens, that means the reality changes. And then you got a conflict between our reality and their reality. And our reality is more powerful. But the first victim, right, will be their law enforcement. Because then law enforcement enforces their reality. That's why it's under attack now. But it's under attack by demons. See, they're going after with Massa. That's why they wanted to part the plague. But they're going to come back after us in a minute. And so I'm preparing you for this war, because when this war breaks out, brothers and sisters, all the things I'm telling you right now are going to start making some sense. Like I said, the Quran says, oh, and your mind is sharp this day. See, all of a sudden, all that bullshit they got you going, and it's mind destruct. They got you in this belief matrix. All that's going to disappear. You know, back during World War II, they said, people was going to psychiatry stuff, all these anxieties and all that kind of stuff. Right? And then when the war broke out in World War II, everybody's got nervous. They said all of a sudden all that stuff disappeared. Nobody was going to psychiatry anymore. See? Because they got real. So shit hit the fan, people get real. When you get hungry, all that bullshit goes away. See? When somebody's hungry, all that philosophy, all that kind of stuff that goes away, they get real then. And when this war comes, you're going to get real. And that's what we're here to make sure when you get real, you understand? That we're here to guide you to make sure that force doesn't become self-destructive. You don't want to be an elephant, right? A blind elephant. Because a blind elephant is destructive everything around it into itself. See, we don't want that. That's the purpose of angel, right? Now, some of you insist on that. That means you're going to have to go through a tribulation period. See, to get you, because you're not going to return. You're not going to return with the power of a God and ignorant. See, you're not going to return home a blind elephant. So only those who in the Lamb's Book of Life who has uploaded and installed, those are the ones that's going to be in Lamb's Book of Life. They're going because now they have a thorough knowledge of themselves. They won't be self-destructive or destructive to others. But those that don't, they have to go through tribulation. And at that point, that's when they're going to get, you understand, their mind corrected. See? And if they don't, then they're going to be stuck here. Because now you'll have one God up against another. You have a blind God, that's you, that's not paying attention, that won't listen, right? See, up against Satan, two gods going against each other. That's one of the reasons why I was brought over here like this. Because we resurrect only those who have thorough knowledge of self. And the rest be stuck, you have to fight out with Satan. And that'll be into you. See, it's like a trap. We set for ourselves to make sure that only the righteous ones, because we don't want you going out here with all that power, with the devil mentality, devil software running on your brain. I just gave you an idea of the power that we have. It only took one scientist to blow the moon away from the earth, just one. You think you're going to come up here with that kind of power and you're going to let you over there and then we got to fight with you? No, not going to happen, brothers and sisters. That's why it says you will not return with thorough knowledge of yourself because you don't know your power. I'm trying to give you a sense of your power. Okay, brothers and sisters. Hope you understand. Hope it's been informative. Assalamu alaikum.